Hello and welcome back everyone to Blended Geometry Nodes workshop for Jungle Vines. In the last lesson we set ourselves up with some nice scaling for the leaves. Now we are going to actually finalize this since we're not going to be touching this part. I'm just going to go ahead and select this entire chunk over here, and we will do some bit of cleaning afterwards, but we can now, for now at least, click Ctrl J to join everything together just to make sure that we know where it is. And we're going to go ahead and just we can select it, click F2 and just call it leaves generation, like so, and that should be all right. Now we do have a couple of issues that we need to address, and I did say back in previous lesson, in one of the lessons, actually if I were to make the leaves scale set to 0, we could see what is up. When we get closer, and we'll realize that there are a lot of overlapping parts in these sections over here. The reason being is that if I was to, where is it? If I was to check where we convert the vine mesh, there we go. If I was to uncheck the fill gaps, we can see that there's a bunch of parts, or actually it's not quite visible. Maybe if I'll set it to 3, there you go, that's more visible over here. We'll set scale randomness to 0 as well for the leaves, so we can see it even better. There's a lot of overlapping parts basically over in this section, so we need to go ahead and fix that. So for us to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way back to where we have a trim curve, so this part over here, and we're going to make some space between set position and trim curve, and I will just click Ctrl and H to hide this out of the way. Move it off to the side a little bit like so we have more space. And between trim curve and set position, we are going to be setting ourselves up with making sure that each type of a curvature path that we get from finding the shortest route, we basically merge them together. So the easiest way for us to do that is if we were to change this curve out of these multiple paths, if we were to change this curve to mesh, so curve to mesh over here, then we will get a mesh version, which is going to be basically multiple lines coming instead of a curve, and they're going to be vertices. So those vertices can then be merged by distance. By distance for the geometry, there we go. The value can be default one, super small one. So it's going to be all the vertices that are overlapping. They're going to be basically getting merged up. So I can actually show you clicking and holding Ctrl Shift, selecting trim curve. All of these lines over here, they will now have vertices, which we're going to be merging them on the same spot. And then after we merge them all together, we can then bring them back to curve. So mesh to curve like so. And we're going to get ourselves a nice setup. The downside of this though is that now that we set ourselves up with this, if we do connect it to the setup, we'll see everything breaking. And the reason being for that is that we need to fix something. And that is we need to actually capture the information. We need to capture the curvature called length beforehand, before we actually do this operation. Otherwise it just breaks the whole setup. So we're going to go ahead and do that. There's a very nice node called capture attributes. So let's go ahead and use that. Capture attributes will allow you to basically put it before the geometry node itself when we're converting, when we're doing this sort of operation and getting a value out of it. And we're just going to get ourselves that same length value before this operation basically. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to just duplicate, this. Going to click Alt P to unparent. There we go. We're going to get ourselves this separated. And then we're going to basically grab the value from the length from this curve. And we're going to get the right setup, basically the same setup that we had before. Now we can go ahead and just simply plug this in instead of the length over here. So let's go ahead and do that. And hopefully, there we go. Everything seems to work quite well. So now we just need to actually increase the resolution just a little bit. There we go. It's going to be fixed like that. And I will fill in the gaps. So going all the way to the end, fill gaps. There we go. That's what we're going to get. So yeah, that's looking pretty nice. Now we just need to make sure we apply ourselves with the UV coordinates. Let's go ahead and test it out real quick. I will turn on the leaves. So scale 0.3, something like that. There we go. And let me just go ahead and test this out. See if it works. And it seems to be working quite well. Actually, let me just go ahead and check something out real quick. I will go to empty selection. There you go. And we have, where is it? There you go. So object info, if we were to check this as relative, it should give us a better setup. Sometimes, for some reason, it just decides to not get the closest point to the use empty, to the empty origin point that we selected. So in this case, in that particular case, I recommend you just changing from original to relative, and that will just fix this issue. And although on this particular case, actually, let me just go ahead and try to move this off to the side. There we go. Once we start moving, we can see that it's actually not behaving the way we want it to. Like so, because it's still, when we offset this main object, if we don't have the transformations reset, so if I were to select this object, the transformations, I can click N to see that we actually have these transformations basically offset. I could, one way to fix it, I could click Control and A and then reset transformations, reset location over here, and that would fix it for me, like so. But it will just take off the transformation, so we don't want this to happen. So for that particular reason, what we're doing over here is basically we're taking this and making sure that this is set to relative, and that will fix this issue, like so. So yeah, that's pretty much from this lesson. In the next one, we are going to go ahead and start working on the material section of the vines. So thank you so much for watching, and I will be seeing you in a bit.